Starting my day with spiritual study for the last 45 mornings in a row has yielded some pretty magical results, and I'm excited to share those with you. My name is Tim Francis. I'm an entrepreneur here in Austin, Texas. I'm a former varsity athlete turned entrepreneur, and I am so passionate about high performance, high purpose, and high profits. 45 mornings ago, I started getting up at 4:50 in the morning and doing spiritual study from 5 a.m. until approximately 7 a.m. So 2 hours on average every morning for 45 straight mornings. Now, I got to tell you, I have never been a morning guy my entire life. Decades and decades and decades, I have been a night owl. So this was a very big change for me. And I just kind of hit a point in my life where I realized that for me to be the leader that I want to be, I didn't have the grounding that I needed to be able to tackle really, really big, challenging, very big dollar, very big consequence kinds of situations. And it dawned on me that I really needed to up my game. Some of the results have been truly magical. I can't remember who said it, but there was someone, I can't remember if it was Martin Luther, started his day with 2 hours of prayer. And someone said, I have no idea how you find the time to pray 2 hours in the morning. And he said, I have no idea how I would get everything done if I didn't pray for 2 hours in the morning. I didn't really understand how that could be possible. In my logical human brain, I'm thinking 2 hours, that really cuts into productivity. So I spoke to a spiritual teacher of mine, and he said, you know what? It doesn't make sense, but somehow it just happens to work out. And my suspicion was, I wonder if I start my day with 2 hours of study, if maybe I will be a little bit of a kinder person, maybe I will speak with a little more elegance and precision, and therefore I create less problems for myself. So instead of having to say one word or one sentence, but spend an hour cleaning up the mess, maybe I can just get it all the first time and get it done right. There's a great John Wooden quote. He says, if you can't find the time to do it right, when are you going to find the time to do it over? I think it's very much in that spirit. I also had a sneaking suspicion that if I started my day with spiritual study and I really got connected to the divine, that maybe, just maybe, some of those kind of strange, unexpected, inexplicable, universal deliveries would start happening, kind of like the divine downloads, or like walking around in public and hearing someone mention a book that you need to read, or getting an unexpected call or text from someone, the stuff that just seems to defy explanation. I was wondering if maybe that would happen. So 45 mornings ago, I started. And my game plan was to start pretty simply. I grew up Catholic, but I wanted to try other spiritual kind of connections, if you will. And so I found out that actually in Hinduism, and I think in, I forget all the other religions that use these kinds of beads, what they'll do is they'll actually say a mantra, a spiritual mantra on one bead, and then they advance one bead, and then they'll say the mantra again, move one bead, say the mantra again. And it's typically, words of God or something like that. And so there's 108 beads on this. These are called japa beads. And it takes me about 12 or 13 minutes to go around once. And I'm going around twice per morning for a total of about 25 minutes. Now, these beads actually aren't necessary. You wouldn't need to do this if you wanted to do it yourself. Why it's so helpful is because the mind just seems to go wherever you want. If you've ever tried to just kind of hold a meditative emptiness, you find very quickly that your mind is thinking about groceries. It's just hilarious how fast the monkey mind just goes all over the place. So by verbally saying a mantra, it's drawing the attention into that mantra or that prayer. And by having beads, it's invoking also the tactile sense. So it really helps you to focus. I'm not a theologian and I don't know all the world religions and practices, but it's interesting that in Hinduism, there's these beads. In Catholicism, there's the rosary. It's kind of the same idea where you say different prayers around the beads. I think also Buddhism also uses some kind of beads like this. Again, I'm not a theologian. I hope I'm not offending anyone right here. So that's what I start for the first 25 minutes. And the spiritual text I'm studying right now is very old. It actually predates Christianity. This is called the Bhagavad Gita. And this has been translated from Sanskrit, which is like an ancient, many, many thousands of years old language from India. And I think it was used in other regions as well. And so it's been translated to English hundreds of times by different experts. And so this particular version is Bhagavad Gita as it is by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. I know that is a mouthful. Just look for this interesting chariot situation, the as it is version of Bhagavad Gita. And at first, I didn't really know what to do. I just kind of opened the book and started reading. And kind of verse by verse, I was like, oh, this is interesting. That's interesting. And pretty soon, by the time the probably like 6th or 7th morning came about, I started asking myself, I wonder how ChatGPT can help me here. Because there's some things I just don't understand. And like, can I get like a quick reference if I have questions about like, does God want us to be rich? Or how do we deal with political violence in America? Or any of these questions that just seem to be confronting all of us these days. And so I created a custom GPT called my Gita Coach. And I told it, pretend that you are A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, the translator of Bhagavad Gita as it is, and I'm going to ask you questions. So it took me like 2 minutes to set up that custom GPT. And then from there, I'd start feeding in the questions that I have into the GPT, and it would start coming back with very interesting answers. Now, GPTs can hallucinate, so I would always ask it to also tell me where to read in the book. And so it would give me read this text, read that text, which I did, and I'd go to the good old paper copy to study it. And where my learning really accelerated, so when I actually started writing essays based on what I was learning. So this is kind of crazy, but I really wanted to push the philosophy to see if I could come up with like holes in the logic of the philosophy. And so I started asking ever wilder questions. And in fact, I even asked the question, does God love strippers? So that'll be probably an essay I release at some point here. I feel like kind of embarrassed even saying it, but I just wanted to push the philosophy and the spirituality in the Gita to see what it would say. It was a very interesting answer. So I'll tell you maybe some other time how that all wrapped up. So between the japa beads that I start with, and then after that with the Gita as my kind of spiritual text I'm studying, plus the GPT, I've spent 45 straight mornings, approximately 2 hours, each and every morning. Now, what are some of the results I've seen? I don't know how to explain this, but there have been some shifts and moves that have happened in my life that I'm not sure if they would have happened had I not been in spiritual study every single morning. And it's in small ways and in big ways. I'll give you an example of a couple of the small ways. And in terms of the big ways, stay tuned because in about 90 days, some of those insights and decisions and choices are really going to be playing out. But let's just start with some small ways. I was at a conference not too long ago, just last week. There was a speaker who was absolutely fantastic. So the event was called Profit Multipliers. It was here in Austin, Texas. There is a speaker talking about how you can use email newsletters inside of your business to grow your following, stay in touch with customers, and maybe even monetize your knowledge through a newsletter. And I really wanted to study his session. It was a great session. His name was Kevin King. And I wanted to ask him questions afterwards. Unfortunately, there was no Q&A. When I tried to catch him on the breaks, he was nowhere to be found or he was tied up talking to other people. So I kind of resigned myself saying, it's probably not going to happen. I'm just going to have to like go on YouTube or something like that. At the VIP dinner that night, I'm sitting down talking to another entrepreneur, and who sits down next to me but Kevin King. And not only do I get my 2 or 3 questions answered, but he talks to me for an hour and a half, all about email newsletters. And I'm just like, that is divine intervention that I could not have made up in a million years. There have been so many moments like that, little moments of magic where the divine is just blowing kisses my way and giving me new opportunities, new meetings, new connections, new introductions, new ideas that otherwise maybe wouldn't have come. So that kind of magic is happening more and more and more. I'm not at liberty to talk about a couple of the really big things that have happened, but do stay tuned and I will keep you posted. Do subscribe, do like this video, and I hope to see you in the next one. Again, I am Tim Francis. I am located here in Austin, Texas, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you so much.